funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, live 5 on the ELP Network, Rumble X, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, all that good stuff on that much. We'll preview the POTUS State of the Union speech coming up after we cut it out at 6 o'clock. Of course, we'll join the Mighty Met KMET 1490 AM at the bottom of the hour, as we always use the horrific parolee story. The man who got paroled or is on the parole list because of Gavin Newsom's policies, multiple child rapes, little toddlers. Absolutely stunning. Some of the fraud, maybe some of the polling and all the other stuff going on, but pick up on yesterday's story of Gavin Newsom. He's just like you. There we got him with the McDonald's, chicken nuggets or Popeye's chicken, watermelon, and the cornrows on the hair. The disingenuous piece of S known as Gavin Newsom. And he's trying to weasel his way out of it. I don't know if this is the killer, as Trump put up. Wow, Gavin Newsom just dropped out of the presidential race. Good job, Donald J. Now he gets in, there's more evidence coming out. Here's more. He's reading a book, as they say. There you see him reading the book. He's an absolute 1,000% fraud. There's more. He said at the parole hearings just 4 days ago where they turned San Quentin into a learning center. Yeah, we get the Johnny Cash. We should have the Johnny Cash song. San Quentin, I hate every inch of you. I mean, it's prison. These guys are in here for punishment. Now to get to the horrific story on the parolee. But Susan Crabtree, long time, I think she's now working for Real Clear Politics. She's been in the reporting biz a long time. With this story about him and the dyslexia and stuff, so she's wanting some background on his dyslexia. When was he diagnosed with it? Where's the problems? So, Izzy Gordon. And this is Izzy Gordon. That's his media guy, his press secretary. And the one you see with the just ridiculous tweets. As you can tell, they tapped the gay dude to run all this histrionics. So Susan Crabtree asked, hey, give me some background on this. Fine, usually, and then, maybe they want to talk off the record on background, yada, yada, yada. You work it out. Hey, this is what you can print. This is our official response. Izzy tells Susan Crabtree to F off from a legitimate reporter's question.
He has dyslexia, so a reporter asked if he was ever diagnosed, and Gavin's team told her to F off. So according to Gavin, he has a learning disability, bombed his SATs, and struggles to read. That's obviously a pretty big obstacle he's overcome, and because now he's governor of California, and we respect that, but he's also a terrible governor.
No. Well, that could be the understatement of the year, but no truer words have ever been spoken. And that is probably understated. He's a terrible governor. Well, that. Plus, he's a POS. As you can see, what And to let your press secretary do all the stuff that he's been doing, there's from the California Post. Gavin Newsom staffer has a meltdown over reporter's question. F off. By Emily Crane. California Governor Gavin Newsom spokesperson brazenly told a reporter to F off after they asked for proof of the Democrat had been diagnosed with dyslexia as a child. He writes back on the X machine, or Susan posted, "Hey Susan, thanks for reaching out. Respectfully, F off." That's a screenshot she put up. In an earlier email, Crabtree asked for evidence that could combat critics who were dubious of Newsom's poor claims of dyslexia diagnosis. Look, the a-hole, Susan Crabtree's been digging into his past at San Jose State, where he claims he was on the baseball team. That's how he got into college. BS. His dad and the Gettys got him in there. He was driving around in a Porsche. Nobody on the ball team when he tried out for it. He was only on the JV team for, 2 or 3 months before they kicked him off. Because he was a complete prick. And he keeps ringing it up. Well, come up with the proof. You've been shown time and time again. You're just a complete fraud. Will use anything like this. I guess this is going to be the next caricature. He's going to do blackface and say, I have a 400 credit score like you, meaning all blacks are poor. If he thought he could get a vote out of it, he would do that in a New York second. He held a press briefing on the San Quentin deal of turning it into a learning center. He said he read every parole statute that came in front of him. He read, not somebody gave him a briefing on it, he read them. That was 4 days ago up in San Quentin. Now he claims he can't read. He claims he read 300-page book on tape. The clown is a complete frickin' fraud. All this is going to do is motivate Susan Crabtree and many others to dig deeper in the well, as they say, to prove what this guy really is. There's a picture of Susan Crabtree, Real Clear Politics National Correspondence. She's asking a legit question. Hey, back up what your claims are. How bad do you really read? I can tell you from personal experience, you can get around this stuff. I mean, everybody's different, and I get that. But he keeps crying wolf about it all the time. That's why he's got bad SATs. That's BS. If you got a disability of that's preventing you from that, there are ways around, or they'll give you credit or exempt you on your SATs, or give you slightly modified or not give you portions of it. So shut the frickin' hell up. I hope Trump's right. I hope he's out of the presidential race because, well, I don't know. It's hard to say if Kamala would be, who would be worse as president, Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris? I hope we don't find out in 28. We'll preview the State of the Union address, which will come on right after the show, after we sign off. Get into the horrific story of the heinous, multiple toddler rapist is being recommended for parole. Granted parole. The only one that can stop it now is Newsom. And he might do it. But Megan Barr's had a lot of stuff of how he's, and the California Globe has put it out on many of this stuff. And it's thoroughly horrific. Yes, it is. We'll get to that here in a few, but some stories are just like, you come in here and you just dread having to talk about them. And when that comes up, I mean, it's almost beyond the pale. As bad as the "I'm one of you because I'm stupid," condescending remarks Newsom made for that. The reason we're in that situation is because of Gavin Newsom. He put it on steroids to let that man out. It's absolutely horrific. I've had the whole deal of El Mecho, the head cartel member down there in Mexico that got killed. Here's they're setting stuff on fire. We'll get it. That's just south of San Diego. They've been threatening to come in the United States. I would highly recommend against that. Not with Donald J. as president. He might obliterate the whole frickin' country of Mexico if they start pulling crap in California, Arizona, and the United States. But they should, the Mexican people, if you're going to go for, if you want freedom, and finally after 200 years of suppression between the Spaniards and the cartels and the corrupt politicians, you can't back up now. You better wipe them out. If Scheinbaum isn't in it, then you should remove her, get somebody else in there, get with Trump and get the cartels flushed out of Mexico and free the Mexican people. Trump's going to be doing the State of the Union speech here coming up. And even though he may have lost some support among young males, they're still I still think they're plus 50 or close on Donald J. This is what Bill Maher had to say, which I thought was interesting. People wonder why so many young men support Trump. Maybe it's because he's the one guy who doesn't make them feel guilty about being born a man. I especially think that is why especially Black and Hispanic males moved in 2024 and became MAGA and became Trump's voters and supporters. Because after years and years of being crushed, they say the rage against a straight and white male, but males in general, since really the 60s and the feminist movement, Burn Your Bra and the Now Gang, there has been a war on males in particular. Whether it's been in politics, in the media, in entertainment, If you act like a dude or you act like you're supposed to, the retarded half the population we are, you are ridiculed, stomped on, called every name, blamed for every evil in the history of the world. And no more does this start in the schools, and maybe later on in the week we'll get into the bias against boys in school that has been there for decades, and it doesn't seem to be subsiding anytime, no matter how much money they dump into it, or how much teachers care. Yeah, you really care. We'll get into that more possibly later on in the week as we peruse through that. Carl DeMaio, assemblyman from down there in San Diego way, just south of us. Well, right by where the cartels are lighting cars on fire down there in Tijuana. He says, holy S. Democrats now want to impose a $900 per year mileage tax on every driver. Oh, it's going to get fun. Here we go.
Today passed Assembly Bill 1421, which moves forward with the mileage tax. The mileage tax would track your mileage. It does not replace the gas tax, by the way. No. This would be in addition to the gas tax, in addition to the car tax. You would be charged 6 to 9 cents per mile that you drive. The average Californian drives 15,000 miles on their car per year. You're going to be forced to pay $900 to $1,200 more on top of the car tax and the gas tax. Adopting a 6 to 9 cent per mile mileage tax is like raising the gas tax per gallon 87 cents to $1.15. Do you understand what a massive sucker punch to your household budget this is?
87. So let's just round that. The proposed gas tax is $1 a gallon. More. On top of almost half of what a gallon of gas is going to the government, mostly the state of California as it is. You're going to keep voting for this crap? It's almost unbelievable.
Massive sucker punch to your household budget this is. When you add in the car tax, the highest in the nation, the gas taxes, which are the highest in the nation, and now the mileage tax, a typical family of two has to pay $4,200 per year just to drive 2 cars.
And going higher. Add another $1,000 to that. Now, if they would take off the AB 32 tax, the Prop 6 tax, all that, which is probably close to $2 a gallon, and replace it with $1 mileage tax or whatever, which essentially goes for $1 a gallon, that would be a very good proposal. And then dedicate that only to building roads and maintaining roads. It can't be spent for anything else, green this, or electric car rebates, or nothing else. Road construction only, or maintenance, period. Need to get to be repealing CEQA, and we need some men with some balls up there to go say, you know what, we're building a new freeway in here. We're eminent domain this part through here, and the freeway is done in less than a year, like they did the 60 freeway coming through here when I was a wee little lad in the mid-60s. You didn't put up with no crap. That was Pat Brown. Pat Brown, Democrat. Father of Moonbeam Jerry Brown. I think they did that just a year before Reagan was elected. It was right in the last year of the Pat Brown administration. And Reagan carried it on. And we financed the greatest road freeway system in the history of the world just on the gas tax. No bonds. No other taxes. No other fees. Zip, zero, nada, nothing. A new poll is out. Again, well, it's a little closer. Swalwell's jumped a little higher. Chad's 22. I think Swalwell's 18. Hilton's 15 or 16. Thing of it is decline to state, independents, however you want to frame them, are now starting to shift center-right, freedom, liberty type Republican. And that has been a consistent part of all the polls going forward. Let's check out a little bit of what's going on nationally, because that's where Gulag Gav is trying to be El Presidente. Here we go.
This morning, California Governor Gavin Newsom is pushing back after critics seized on comments he made at an Atlanta event accusing him of racism. Listen to this.
I'm like you. I'm no better than you. You know, I'm a 960 SAT guy.
Newsom calls it all fake outrage. This is, we're getting a sense, you know, President Trump is 1 year in to his final term, but still it's never too early to talk about the next presidential election. With us now is CNN chief data analyst Harry Etten. So we see Governor Newsom. He's got a book, I think, which actually publishes today. He's in the middle of the fray of possible Democratic contenders. So what do the polls say?
Yeah, they're all running, and this is just a downright clown car at this point on the Democratic side. I mean, just take a look here. Top choices for the 2028 Dem-Pres nominee. You have a leader, but it's not really a clear leader. It's within the margin of error. You have Newsom at 19%. Then you have former Vice President Kamala Harris at 18%. Quite a weak number for her, given that, of course, she was the nominee last time around. Pete Buttigieg, who, of course, has run before, 13%. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at 12%. This is just a total clown car. It is a total mess. There is no clear front runner at this particular point.
So this very much looks like the California governor's race, as we've said. It's a clown car race for the governorship from the Democratic side, just like the presidency. You got AOC with her drunken deal over there in Newsom, like in Newsom land where he got shut out. And she, like a bumbling idiot. Kamala Harris, who can't string two words together if her life depended on it. And little Pete Buttigieg. Just because people are just pissed off all across the board. They're tired of the high prices. They're tired of seeing their future go away and their kids' future being flushed down the drain. They may have voted for it. They're not going to blame themselves. The reason we're in this situation is just look in the mirror. But that's why I see there's liable to be some big earthquakes coming in 2026. And what people believe today, we're going to go back and look. Just like even 2 months ago, people were saying the Roy plan possibly, no way could work. Impossible. Never elect a Republican. To being the main buzz. And it's very, very, like I say, this is a volatile year. It's going to be interesting to see how Trump plays it. He's warned that this may be the longest State of the Union speech. Well, technically last year's wasn't, but that was the longest. I think an hour 40. And I don't think he's went, I think a 118 is the short. No, he did one. 1 hour was his first one. Most of them have been about an hour, 20 minutes. Last year's inaugural speech, which is technically not State of the Union, was 140. And you know Trump, once he gets wound up and rolling, maybe we'll crack 2 hours. I don't know. We'll find out here starting in about a half hour of how it goes. But we shall hopefully see. It'll be interesting. I hope he changes course. We can always hope he shows once in a while a little contrition. And admit maybe at some point he made some errors in judgment that he's going to correct in 2026. It's going to be a fun ride.
Got about 1 minute, Roy.
As Sean said, when we get in, we're going to deal with the horrific story of elderly parolees and the parole board in California. That's parole. A man who was multiple times raped, not children, toddlers, in brutal fashion. And how Gavin Newsom has facilitated this man on a parole board, or being paroled in California. Some of the other
Sickening, man. Sickening.
It is. It's ridiculous.
30 seconds.
It's almost, if you weren't living it live and in living color, you would not believe what's going on. Like I say, there may be some political earthquakes coming in 2026 with people are just going to piss
Here we
off.
go. 10 seconds. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday, 5:30 on Mighty Met 1490 AM, broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the form of today and band. Join your vast video audience. Evil Uppy Network, YouTube. I think we're working on some more technical issues on X and Rumble, but we'll have those spiffied up in a few seconds, as George Poppy Bush may say. Oh man, what a day. More fallout from Gavin Newsom and his dyslexia and his press office telling Susan Crabtree, saying, hey, back up or tell us what's going on with that. What's your diagnosis? His press office, Izzy, the Light and the Loafers dude, said F off, Susan. And really, that's what they think of you. If they're telling the reporters out there they're trying to do legitimate stories, they don't give a flippin' rip about what you think. And the next story we're going to talk about, will, if that doesn't prove it, nothing will. Went through the latest polling of that, people getting nervous, and even nationally, the whole thing. People are just, they're frustrated, they're teed off, they just want the stuff fixed. And I think they're just going to keep flipping. They're going to, if this guy don't come in, I think that's how Mandami got in. They'll probably elect somebody, who knows. They might get maybe they'll recruit Ron Paul to move to New York City and elect him mayor there or something. Is about as much. You're going to get a lot of transitions, I think, next year and the next through 28. And depending on how the rest of the Trump presidency goes out and stuff and how things go across with all the stuff, deportations, this latest cartel deal go down in Mexico, and everything else. But as I've said, some of these stories that you have to go with. David Funston, the monster parents fear the most. He committed some of the most heinous child torture, and I mean toddler torture, 5-year-olds, raping them, leaving them by the side of the street. Multiple times. This is why I say that child molestation, especially toddlers, that should be a death penalty crime. Not that we don't get it here in California, because Newsom reneged on his promise again when he ran for governor and said, I'm going to enforce Prop 66. It's the law. People pass it even if I don't agree with it. First thing he did coming into office was say, no death penalty. In fact, he turned San Quentin into a learning center. 4 days ago, where he said he read every parole report. Even with his severe dyslexia. This is the sheriff of Sacramento, I believe, which was in the assembly, maybe when this Newsom stuff went down, of actually making this guy eligible for parole. Let's run the clip of that. Here we go. Three to 7 years old. It's almost unbelievable. I want to check this guy's record because he was in the assembly when Newsom made this guy eligible for parole in 2018 or 19 when he came into office. I want to see if he voted for that or said anything back then.
Hey, Roy, I can't hear your video.
Where are we at as a society? We voted for this. Your legislature, which represents you, as he said, in 2020, pushed by Gavin Newsom, lowered the age that you could be eligible for parole down from 60 to 50. And other provisions which made this man eligible for parole. When he was sentenced, he was not. This is why elections matter. This is why politics matters. This is why getting involved and informed on these issues matters. Because this will just keep going. This is beyond the gas tax raising and not talking us into the bullet train and stealing our money, or the fraud. Adam Housley's got a big story, 100 billion plus he's coming up with. We'll have that later in the week too. Those kids' lives will never be the same. That will haunt them at least every day they're on Earth. And the fact that that man will be let out, well, pending Gavin Newsom is the last stance. But he's let out hundreds and thousands just like this. He might grandstand this one and say, oh, it's too horrific. But it's absolutely devastating. Here's another report from Fox 40.
Needless to say, I was absolutely shocked and stunned that such a decision would be made.
This week, former Sacramento District Attorney Anne Marie Schubert learned that convicted sex offender David Funston was granted an early release by the parole board on Wednesday.
The age of his victims was from 3 years old to 7. He kidnapped them. He committed horrific sex crimes. He is a pedophile, in my opinion. He's a dangerous human being, but he went to trial and he was sentenced to multiple life terms. The judge essentially said no amount of time is enough. You should never get out of prison. And so now he has this benefit that he can now get out of prison because our legislature decided that we should let people out early. And in fact, he should never actually be released.
33-year-old Amelia was Funston's youngest victim. He used a Barbie doll to lure her away from her aunt's front yard and kidnap her.
Took her to his residence, committed crimes against her. She's 3. She's a toddler. And then she's dumped into a neighborhood and said, go knock on that door.
I remember bluntly of what happened that night. I can identify my surroundings very well. I still remember that. I don't think that he should be out free because he's a pedophile, for one, and that's a dangerous man.
He's a monster. That's scary. That's a worst nightmare.
I'm one of the lucky children that got away, you know, so.
Absolutely.
And I'm blessed to be able to stand here today at the age that I am to be able to speak about that.
Another of Funston's kidnappings involved 2 sisters, ages 5 and 6 at the time. Fortunately, the girls' upstairs neighbor witnessed the kidnapping and yelled at Funston to release the girls because she had his license plate number. He then let them out of his car after driving only a few feet.
He still got convicted of the kidnapping.
Good.
But that was because she got the plate. That's what led us to him. That's what led law enforcement to him.
Fox 40 spoke to the older sister who says they pray he isn't released from prison and that her and her sister are blessed to be alive.
This is the case that demonstrates that this law needs to be changed and to be fixed.
Senator Roger Nilo is working to fix it. He submitted SB 1278.
The bill will propose that under the existing circumstances, there will be certain crimes that will be excluded from consideration. At the very least, sex crimes, and we will assess. I think it should be broader than that, but I want this is not a messaging bill for me. I want it to be successful. There's just no excuse for that kind of leniency.
1,111%. And we turned San Quentin into a learning center. We're closing Chuckawalla Prison down in Blythe. Because we don't want to be cruel to people like that. I don't know why you're not flooding. Why aren't people down at the County Board of Supervisors in Riverside and your legislature? Open the Indio jail. I said, we the county. Chad said he'd do it. We'll take over the Chuckawalla prison down there and run it. All of y'all that hollered about private prisons and all that stuff, well, now this is the consequence of it. Here's more from Anne-Marie Schubert, the DA that prosecuted the case. She was on with Mara Tellez on Fox 11.
To a house, sexually assaulted her, then dumped her in a neighborhood. I mean, these are very young children. And in my entire career, I did this for a long time, 30 plus years, never seen anything like it.
Funston was granted parole under California's elderly parole program. She explains what that means.
And now we have a law in California that allows these types of individuals, serial sex offenders, to get out of prison after 20 years and at the age of 50. And so we're making some very strong efforts in California with our legislature to change that law. And I'm very hopeful that, unfortunately, this case can become the example of why the law needs to be changed. He would not be getting paroled, but for that law.
How long has that been on the books?
It was first passed in 2018, and then Governor Newsom reduced the age to 50. Used to be 60, and then he reduced it to 50 and only 20 years in 2020.
So there you have it from Anne-Marie Schubert, who prosecuted the case. Gavin Newsom reduced this so this guy could get out. And again, if he's going to grandstand this, and Rob Bonner and all that, and all the ones, every one of you that has voted for these clowns like Corey Jackson, or Rob Bonner, or Gavin Newsom, and the list goes on. Isaac Bryan. This from Megan Barth in California Globe. Newsom pardons convicted attempted murder. Illegal alien shields him from deportation. Since January 2026, sanctuary policies under Newsom have led to the release of 4,561 criminal illegal aliens into California communities. In a blistering statement released on Monday, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security condemned California Governor Gavin Newsom for pardoning Zamboon Phayongbi, a Cambodian national and illegal alien convicted of attempted murder and assault with a firearm, crimes that stripped him of his green card and triggered a final order of removal. There you see it, absolute insanity. He pardoned an attempted murder. Now you can't even deport him because now his crimes are gone. You heard that Newsom worked for the law and strengthened the law to parole that heinous toddler rapist. Phayongbi, who entered the U.S. legally but lost his green card after his convictions, was sentenced in 1997 in San Diego to 14 to life on 10 counts of premeditated attempted murder, assault with a semi-automatic firearm, assault with a firearm. The list goes on. Newsom's pardon erases the qualifying convictions for immigration purposes, allowing Phayongbi to reopen proceedings and remain in California communities rather than face deportation by ICE. This is not an isolated incident, as California Globe previously reported in February Department of Homeland Security and ICE urged Newsom and Attorney General Rob Bonta to honor more than 33,000 active U.S. detainers for criminal illegal aliens in California custody, a direct plea to stop the revolving door of releases that endangered public safety. Since January 2020, sanctuary policies under Newsom have led to the release of 4,561 criminal illegal aliens into California communities, including individuals with convictions or charges of 31 homicides, 661 assaults, and hundreds of other violent and serious offenses, according to the DHS data. This pardon is a disturbing pattern of California obstruction of federal immigration enforcement. In December of 2025, DHS launched Worst of the Worst webpage highlighting criminal aliens arrested by ICE, and with California accounting for thousands of entries. Just last week, LA Mayor Buffoon Bass escalated the standoff by banning ICE from staging operations on city property. That's from Megan Barth in the California Globe. 33,000 at 180 grand a pop is what it's costing us to house them. Do the math. I don't want to tell you because you probably won't believe me. On top of that, releasing them back into California communities, pardoning them, paroling a serial toddler rapist, torture of young human innocent lives. It's flat beyond really anything you could wrap your head around. Yet all you ladies that get your knees knocking when you see, oh, Gavin Newsom. Oh, he's so cute. It's hard to believe with the public record of that man for 22 years since he was elected mayor. And as he said, he owes his career to Willie Brown like Kamala Harris. I wonder if he did the Kamala on Willie Brown. Who knows? Only the shadow knows. Hey, he's got Izzy Gordon working for him in his press office telling everybody to F off. It's almost beyond comprehension, but we're living it that the once golden state could go this far down. And we as a collective, almost 40 million people, can have that cold a heart to your fellow human being to allow this kind of stuff to go on. You let them, you want your kids to be SAT 960s like that Gavin Newsom that you're just, your heart goes all aflutter for, ladies. You know, that's like in the bottom 2 or 3%. That's almost like 960 on an SAT is almost in the retarded range. That's what you want in your future? That's what you want for the future of your kids, ladies? That's who you want running for president of the United States. You want him for president after all of the things he's done to San Francisco and California? Willie Brown, who's responsible for Jim Jones and the whole Harvey Milk thing, the corruption that was going on in there. He was right in the middle of that. By Gavin's own admission, he delivered Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris not only to California, but now to torture the rest of the world, or at least the United States. And boy, did we dodge a bullet in 2024. You know, the State of the Union's coming up here in a few minutes. And yeah, I would have wished Trump would have done things differently. But the bottom line is just think of where we would be under the first year of a Kamala Harris administration. That should make the color go out of your face. That should make you want to faint. There's a lot of positives. Again, nobody's perfect. You're not going to agree with anyone 100% of the time. But for crying out loud, man, we can't continue down the trajectory we are, especially in California, or reverse some of the positive things Trump has come in with in 2024. Like I said, 2026 is going to be a wild ride. Keep track of it, because I can almost bet you dimes to donuts. What you see today, it will definitely be different by the time election time rolls around in November. Because as fun as 2025 was, I think 26 is going to make that look like a cakewalk. That'll do it for today, as we usually say at this time. Mandatory, you're back here 24 hours live for the best darn show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya.
The proceeding was a paid.
All right, Roy, take it easy, man.
You got it.
Bye.